I'm pleased to be joined today by David Richards CBE. David's gone from being a former rally driver 40 odd years ago to now being chairman of Prodrive and chairman of Motorsports UK. David, welcome, and could you just give a bit of background to what happened in the 40 years between the 2 points?
Well, that's looking back, it's a long period of time, isn't it? No, I was very fortunate. I was studying articles as a chartered accountant and ended up going rallying and quite successfully, and won the world championship with a Finnish driver, Ari Vatanen, in 81, and then started my own business as Prodrive. We started off to do a rally team. We were that led us into sports car racing, into touring car racing, into all sorts of other activities, Formula One for a period of time, and more lately diversifying into other automotive and non-automotive engineering fields as well. So today we employ about 700 people in Banbury and Milton Keynes, and it's a very diverse organisation, albeit motorsport's still at the heart of it.
Talking about motorsport being at the heart of it, also, regardless of you're obviously chairman of Prodrive, you're also chairman of Motorsports UK, the governing body of the British motorsports. Could you just sort of give a bit of background to where you think we are with motorsports in the UK at the moment? You know, F1 is obviously a very rich vein at the moment, but you know that just merely scratches the surface of the many other elements to British motorsport.
Well, I guess motorsport to a certain extent reflects the economy of the country, because it's it's a discretionary activity for people. It's not cheap by any means. But I would say at a grassroots level, it's very robust at present. And it's helped by the profile of Formula One and other motorsport activities. But a lot of people coming in and participating at the grassroots level. And I see the responsibility of Motorsport UK. Our role, we don't need to interfere in the likes of Formula One or World Rally Championship or any of the professional sports, other than to sort of act as a regulator for them, and which we do, I believe, very well. Our role is really to promote the sport and make it more accessible to people. So, young people have the opportunity to experience motorsport at an early age, and then can carry on. And who knows, we might find another Lewis Hamilton amongst them.
Excellent. It would be remiss of me, given that the podcast is called EV Powered, if we didn't really sort of try to focus a little, as much as we can, on electric vehicles in motorsports. So, how do you see motorsports evolving with more and more electric vehicles coming on stream?
Well, it's one category of motorsport. It's not sort of the exclusion of everybody else. And of course, historic cars, and a lot of motorsport is around historic racing and sort of from earlier years. Those cars are going to remain for a long time to come. So we're still going to have those cars. So I look at it in a more general way. We have to make motorsport far more sustainable for the long term, which means it has to be responsible in terms of its environmental credentials. And we're doing lots of things around that. So it's, you talk about electric vehicles, that's only one aspect. Sustainable fuel, another important aspect. And if we're going to have internal combustion engines for many, many years to come, certainly in motorsport we are, then moving them across to sustainable fuel is the first point of that we can do. And in my own company, in Prodrive, we've run sustainable fuels on our cars for the last 3 years. So there's no reason why we can't do it. It's a little more expensive for the participants, but it's worth paying for, and I believe so. But then going to the electric vehicles, clearly the opportunity for motorsport is to promote new forms of transport, if you like, or electric vehicles being one of them, to the public at large on behalf of the car manufacturers. So I think people tend to look at electric vehicles and think, well, they're already they're sort of okay around town. They don't necessarily look at them as a performance vehicle. So motorsport can certainly add to those credentials. Formula E does it extremely well. In the single-seater formula, there are more touring cars and other activities coming on stream as well to promote electric vehicles. So motorsport can be used as a platform to promote technology. And if you look back 50 years, and you'll see that's what it did. It promoted new technologies across the board. And that saying, sort of, win on Sunday, sell on Monday, was a sort of car manufacturers. That's why they invested in motorsport. I think we've lost it a little bit in the last 50 years. I think we've focused more on the entertainment value of motorsport, certainly on TV, certainly for that side of it. And in doing so, we've neglected the technology advances that motorsport has historically promoted. And we've got to get back to that. And we've got to be there developing new technologies, looking at where the car manufacturers want to promote ideas for the future. And motorsport's a wonderful platform for doing that.
It's funny you say that, drive on the Sunday, sell on the Monday. Aston Martin, which you were previously chairman of, I heard a stat recently from Lawrence Stroll. Basically, I think they're saying that the F1 races where the Aston Martin safety car is deployed, they see a huge uplift of people actually going on the configurator on their website with a view to potentially purchasing one on the Sunday evening or the Monday.
Good. Well, there you go. That's it proves the point, rather.
Also, Formula E, you touched upon there. It's seen quite a lot of trickle down of some of the technology. Jaguar of the I-Pace, etc. has quite a lot of battery technology has evolved from Formula E. Do you see that coming across, obviously, with work you do with Prodrive as well? Some of the technology being used in rally cars or other series actually entering then into road cars?
It does, but a lot of this technology is very hidden, if you like. It's sort of, it might be increasing the performance of a battery by 10% or 15%, which is great for the consumer and benefits the consumer, but it's not something that's sort of immediately apparent. So it comes from development through motorsport on the track, and there are lots of hidden benefits you can see from that. Unfortunately, with Formula E, to start with, there was very little freedom of the technology. So the cars were all identical, the motors were identical, the batteries were identical. But as it's evolving now, it's becoming freer and freer, allowing car manufacturers to come in and develop their own powertrains, which will naturally transfer onto road cars.
Just talking about sustainability, Formula One have their net zero campaign. Where is Motorsport UK with regard to looking to do a net zero, or what are we talking about sustainability wise with regard to Motorsport UK?
Well, we're working on a raft of initiatives, and just by going back to my own company, Prodrive, we are working towards the ISO standard for sustainability, which I'm confident we will achieve by the end of this year. The roof of our building, if anyone passes on the N40 and sees the Prodrive name there, they'll see the roof of the building has 2 football pitches of solar cells on the top. And Motorsport UK is no different. We're looking at all the circuits, all the motor clubs, and we're accrediting motor clubs with environmental credentials meeting certain criteria. So it's a starting point. It's a long way to go, but it's a clear commitment from us. And you know what? The more people I talk to out there in motorsport, the more they are fully aware of their responsibilities in this respect. And we have we're pushing against an open door. You have a group of people that realize that if we want to continue in motorsport, we must do it responsibly. We must find ways of achieving what we're trying to achieve in terms of environmental impact.
Prodrive's fully use of sustainable fuels, is that just literally a straight swap, or if you had to make substantial changes to the pipes and other parts of the engine?
You have to make some changes to it, and all these fuels require a different approach and different calibration for the engines. By way of example of that, I've got a couple of old cars, and I put the latest E10 fuel into them, and they didn't run particularly well, I have to say. So so you have to be a little cautious in that. But in motorsport terms, we have the capability to do that, and it shouldn't be a barrier at all.
Prodrive obviously celebrating its 40th anniversary this year. I mean, where do you see it going in the future? Are you looking for more collaborations, to work in more series, possibly introduce new ones?
It's more about diversity. We've got a very strong foothold in motorsport today. We represent Aston Martin with their GT racing around the world in terms of building all the GT cars in Banbury. We're just doing a new Dakar project for the Dacia car company. We're going to Paris-Dakar for the next few years. We're doing a lot of restorations of many of the old cars we've built over the last 40 years. So the motorsport side is very strong, very stable. What I'm looking to do is diversify the business into other areas, using that expertise that's been gained through motorsport, the culture that we've created within the organization, to push the boundaries in other areas. We're doing a whole range of projects at the moment. We've got from the lightest folding bike in the world, which weighs 6.9 kilos, which we're marketing, through to building a last mile delivery vehicle that meets the latest legislation and actually transfers pallets, so you're actually very efficient. And worked on a number of trucks, electric versions of trucks, and working on a refrigeration unit for trucks now run by solar. So it doesn't stop. We're looking at all the time. We get new ideas coming forward and trying to push the boundaries.
Excellent. So you could even be working on, I don't know, the UK's version of the America's Cup.
We did that before. We've done that with Ben. We did the hydraulics and electrical system for Ben a few years ago. He's now partnered with Mercedes, so we don't have that opportunity.
What other companies, you obviously mentioned Aston Martin there, what other companies does Prodrive actually work with or partner with?
Well, many of these companies, as you might imagine, we act as a sort of technical partner behind the scenes, and we can't boast about it or even tell anybody about it, which is slightly unfortunate. But I would say there are very few car manufacturers around the world that we haven't worked with at some point in time, and more so recently in aviation as well, aerospace.
So Prodrive is definitely the drive, or the pro behind the drive.
That's a good way of putting it. But I think that's why people come and join us, and we get lots of great young engineers join the company, because they know that they might be working on a motorsport program one day, they'll be working on an environmental project the next day, an electric car the day afterwards. So,
on a sort of personal note, what excites you and it sort of motivates you every day to keep going and keep evolving?
It's just that excitement of what's around the corner next, and what we can turn our hand to, and how we can build a company based upon solid foundations that sort of works in ethical way, and whether it's environmental issues or our employment standards or winning on the racetrack. It's just a fun business to be part of. I must admit, there are not many days I don't leap out of bed in the morning thinking, God, what's ahead of us today?
Excellent. Wearing your Motorsport UK chairman hat for a second, Abby Pulling last weekend was the first female to win a Formula 4 series. Where do you see the progression of women in motorsports generally? Not in F1 necessarily. I mean, obviously that would be the pinnacle, but what is the percentage at the moment of female license holders, for example, and is it growing?
Well, it's not enough. That's the first thing to say. We're in a society of 50% females. We have a very low representation and participation in motorsport. But, and you look at other sports, it's only of late that sort of female football has become so popular. So we're working at and introducing new female drivers. There's some great initiatives going out there. Susie Wolf's got a great one there, which is pulling forward young female drivers. And we today, I guess around 8% of our license holders are female, which is obviously too low. We need to encourage that. But for me, it's more of a societal thing. They're getting young girls at an early age to think in the same way that they want to participate sort of in motorsport in the same way that boys do. It's how we treat girls in kindergartens, and if you treat them the same as the boys and you give them the same opportunities, that will follow in due course. And I've sort of said I'm hopeful that my 3-year-old granddaughter might be one of the first of the next generation that will benefit from all these changes.
Excellent. You also wear another hat, so to speak, in so much as you've actually got a hotel.
Yes. People ask me, why has that happened? I point the finger at my wife for saying it was her idea. But they also, I'm often asked the question, what's the most difficult, business you've ever run in your life? What's the sort of biggest challenge you've ever faced? And they assume it was running a Formula One team. Formula One teams are pretty challenging. There are a lot of people involved. There's a lot of focus on you, the whole eyes of the world on you. But I can honestly tell you, It's not. It's running a small hotel in Cornwall, which I don't actually run myself. I have to say, we have a general manager there, but I see the challenges that he faces every day of the week, and I would far rather be running a Formula One team than a hotel.
Do you think Ross Brawn was saying it was one of the hardest jobs that he'd ever done was lying? He needs to buy a hotel.
I'm having dinner with Ross tonight, so I'll mention that too.
Excellent. Also, just I think a sort of final point: where do you see motorsport actually evolving to as we move on? You said, cost of living crisis, and motorsport is regarded as broadly as a luxury, less a pursuit. Do you think it's going to grow and thrive over the next sort of 5 years, or do you think it'll sort of just wallow around a little bit?
No, I think the opportunity for us is to promote these new technologies, to be used as a platform for developing new technologies and promoting them to the public at large. And we've got to embrace this. We've got to find ways of incorporating new championships within the overall offering that motorsport does. We talked about Formula E. There's a hydrogen series coming very shortly now. So all these things are starting. And whilst we remain relevant, whilst we also remain conscious of our role in sort of environmental side, we will have a strong future. If we miss those things, if we actually ignore those things, we'll just end up, sort of like, I don't know, fox hunting. So we've got to think about things really consciously and make conscious efforts to do the right thing. Would
you like to see like an additional UK-based series, a little bit like the Next Gen Cup, where they've just the electrified middies and things like that for early and entry point, fairly low cost series to electrified racing?
Well, there's lots of opportunities to come in at an early age now. We have a series of Motorsport UK called Streetcar. Join your local motor club, and there are a whole range. People assume, because they watch Formula One, they assume you've got to have a bag full of money and a car like Lewis Hamilton to get involved in motorsport. That's not the case. You can join your local motor club, you can come along with your standard road car, and you can participate on a wide range of motorsport activities, which are just great fun, and you'll meet like-minded people. And that is the role of Motorsport UK, to develop that base of the pyramid, to expose people to the opportunity for motorsport at an early age, to just enjoy it. And most people, 99% of our license holders, are there just to have fun, to enjoy life with like-minded people and have a bit of fun. And that's what we're there to do.
David, I think on that note, thank you for your time today. And let's hope that both Prodrive and motorsport in the UK go from strength to strength.
Thank you very much indeed, Richard. Thank you.
You can find more episodes of the Everything EV podcast on Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.